shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon, Cayman Islands, and welcome to Cayman Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. And we have some good stuff lined up for you this afternoon. And if you stay tuned, we will be right back.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm your host, Gilbert McLean, sitting in for Sterling Ebanks. And as I said a few moments ago, we have some interesting things lined up here in 3 different segments. The first one should be the Purple folks coming in to talk to us about the Purple Ribbon Pledge. And that's the folks on the National Drug Council. And, of course, that those folks are trying to remind everyone about the importance of not drinking and driving. And we take a pledge that will be something that we won't do. Folks who go out to have a good time and who might have some drinks rather than driving themselves, have a buddy who can do that, or call a taxi. And normally, this organization lines up some buses that will normally pick up people about the time that the night clubbing and so on is over. However, we do not have them with us at this time. And as they say in Hollywood, the show must go on. So the show is going on. And you folks out there who are listening to us and always listen to Radio Cayman, you can give us a call at 1-800-534-8255. If you would have something on your mind and you would like to talk about it or you would like to share it with other listeners, give us a call. And Miss Susan is here waiting at the switchboards to accept that call. But in the meantime, we have some time on our hands, so let's look at a few things that's making the headlines, and while we wait for our first guest. In the Caymanian Compass this morning, I see that there's on the front page more than 1,000 people have signed up to take part in Sunday's Intertrust Cayman Islands Marathon. It's a half marathon and a 4-person relay. And among the runners this year are people who have recovered from injuries and surgeries, individuals who are adding Cayman's marathon to their large and growing tally of worldwide marathons, and a couple who will do the run this morning after getting married. So there's quite a variety of people who will be taking part in this marathon here on Sunday. It begins at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning at the Georgetown waterfront, and organizers are encouraging the members of the public to come out and support the event, because the event actually raises funds for charities such as the Cayman Islands Cadet Corps and the Cancer Society. All of these are very important organizations, and of course the whole idea of a marathon, of running, of jogging, or whatever falls in line with health. And the Cancer Society assists those persons who are unfortunate, find themselves with cancer, so it is about health. And that is a good thing that we could talk about this morning. Health, this afternoon here with health and the importance of exercising. You know, we are told more and more by the medical folks that exercising is absolutely important. They will tell us to watch our diets, what we eat more vegetables, eat more fruit, do not eat too much red meat, and all of that. But they do tell us to exercise. And it is important to decide what kind of exercise is best for the individual persons. Persons perhaps who are on the heavy side might want to go jogging until they have lost some weight, because, of course, running and jogging in any way is actually hard on the joints, the knees, the ankles, the hip, and so on. But there are other ways of exercising. People exercise in their homes where they have a treadmill or an elliptical machine, and some simply use the small bouncing apparatus that they can exercise on. But the important thing is to exercise. Others decide to do it in the pools, which is good because the water bears up some of the weight and they can still move the arms and legs and so on. And that, too, is exercise. There's also breathing exercises. So it's very... there's a wide variety of things that can be done to exercise. And exercise is good for health. And that is becoming more and more clear as time goes by. No matter what medication you take, no matter what other things you do as far as food and diet and so on is concerned, they're telling you more and more. You should exercise. Even sitting in your chair, straightening out your legs, that's an exercise. So all of these are things that people can do. And the story goes as of Monday this week, 102 full marathoners, 810 half marathoners entrants, and 67 relay teams have registered, with at least another 100 expect to sign up on the day before the marathon. So this is really a big event here in Cayman and will be happening this Sunday. And last year, more than 1,200 people took part. So it's not, for example, that there's just some here from Cayman locally, but there are other persons coming to the island, and there are about 700 visitors who are going to be taking part this year. All those things go well also for our tourism, because we become known as a destination where people will come because there are things to do here which relate to things they would do at home, and it brings visitors to the island. So it's not just purely that people come to Cayman to stay in the hotels, to eat, drink, sit on the beach or whatever. There are other areas also which we can actually attract people here to our shores, and of course by attracting them we all benefit in one way or another. There's travel tax, there's the taxes who benefit, there are the restaurants who benefit, the jewelry shops, the souvenir shops. So it is widespread, and that is why tourism is something that is so good for countries. Of course, we can boast about the safety factor here in the Cayman Islands, that we are one of the safest destinations that there is in the Caribbean. And it's been that way for a very long time. In studies and polls that have been done, we find that as a very high factor. And of course, as good citizens, we need to be careful that we do everything that we can as law-abiding citizens to see that that kind of situation continues to exist here, where safety becomes a major factor, and we can build on that. We, along with the friendliness, the safety is a major factor as well. And of course, yesterday we had Mr. Williams here with us, and he was talking about what he does for tourism here in the Cayman Islands. He will be having a gospel concert on New Year's Eve, and that will be from 7 in the evening until like 10:30. And he's bringing in some very famous singers, the Crab Family, who will be performing here. And, of course, that is his way of contributing. And that is his way of offering a different kind of attraction than we usually find in the lineup here on the island. You know, it's more than sea, sand, and sun. It's also other things. And there are many people, thousands of people, who like gospel music, who have a strong spiritual belief, and who find gospel music something that is soothing to them, something that further inspires the feelings which they have. So these are things which can be done and are being done here, and we're fortunate to have it the way that we do. And I understand that this year is expected to be one of the biggest visitor tourism in a very long time. And even now, you other than just the cruise ships and passengers, you see a lot of people along the 7 Mile strip that are obviously not just cruise ship passengers, but they are stayover passengers. They're passengers who are arriving by air. And life is strange, because when you get the weather that's really cold over in North America, it's the time when more people come to the warm climate, such as the Caribbean. And we have been very fortunate that after Hurricane Ivan, we rebuilt, and we didn't have to cope with a hurricane this year, for which we were blessed and which we are thankful. So we are in a position to welcome the visitors who seem to be coming here in larger numbers than before. Another thing that I see, and I will come back to that, but there is another story here that I think would be of interest, at least to some of the older folks here in Cayman who would know of it. But we'll talk about that when we come back from this short break. You're listening to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. I'm your host, Gilbert McLean, sitting in for Sterling Ebanks. We'll be right back. Do stay tuned.
Research shows that domestic violence increases during the holidays. Financial pressures, family pressures, work pressures, all of these play a part. So don't let the pressures of life take over. Choose to diffuse the spousal arguments before they begin. Most people experience their greatest anger when they feel dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. Many people instinctively avoid naming their fears, and it's all too easy to mistake sadness and fear for anger. So if you feel like you're heading for an argument, or you find yourself getting angry, stop for a moment and ask yourself, am I reacting to a feeling of loss? Telling someone else what you're sad about or afraid of means that you're willing to let down your guard and be honest. And you know, they may react by doing the same. A quote from ahealthyplace.com says this: "Remember, from every wound there is a scar, and every scar tells a story. A story that says, I have survived. Turn your wounds into wisdom."
The Stop the Slap campaign, proudly sponsored by Foster's IGA. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
The Black Friday sale at Priced Right is happening now, and that means huge savings on electronics, gifts, essentials, and food items. Visit PricedRight.ky or Priced Right Cayman on Facebook and Instagram to check out the sales flyers and plan your Black Friday shopping list. With this many deals in one store, you can get all your Christmas shopping done early and in one place. Priced Right. Black Friday for less.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
A visionary leader, an outstanding educator, and a man of standard.
Join the UCCI community as we celebrate the achievements of and bid farewell to President J.A. Roy Bodden, who is retiring after 9 years of dedicated service to the institution. Be a part of the historic event on Monday, December 3rd, 6 p.m. in the Sir Vassal Johnson Hall. Refreshments will be served.
A man of standard.
Treat your home this year with a Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor with up to 20% off select porcelain and ceramic tiles, 15% off commercial and residential carpets, and tint specials with tiles as low as $10 per box and mosaics only $5. The Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor this Friday 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. only. Cash or credit card payments only. All sales are final. Edie's Decor, located on 64 Eastern Avenue, or you can call them at 949-6348. If you're in Cayman Brac, don't miss the annual Christmas Variety Show brought to you by the Lions Club of Cayman Brac. It's happening Saturday, December 2nd, 7 p.m. at the Aston Reddy Civic Center. There's going to be local entertainment, food, music, dance, drama, a fashion extravaganza hosted by MC Cheryl T. of Grand Cayman, and a chance to win prizes including 32-inch TV, bicycle, Quarry Sand, Foster's Food Fair gift cards. Tickets are only $10 for adults and high school students and $5 at the gate for primary school students, with proceeds supporting the annual Christmas Cheer Project for the elderly and children. Get your tickets for the annual variety show taking place this Saturday, December 1st, from any member of the Lions Club today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman, where I'm your host, Gilbert McLean, sitting in for Sterling Ebanks. And also making news on the local daily newspaper, the Caymanian Compass, is a story about Dr. Horder, who was one of the earliest doctors to come here to the Cayman Islands. I remember my mother taking me to West Bay to where Nurse Lou worked with him, and at a house there in West Bay, exactly where that was, I am not quite sure. I think it's somewhere where there is now the residence for one of the churches. But I remember him, an Englishman, wearing those type of khaki-colored helmets that you would see with those who went to Africa. And I can see him now dealing, checking the blood pressure, doing whatever with a cigarette, an unfiltered cigarette hanging off his lip, and as a cigarette was finished, he would just light another one. But this man served the Cayman Islands faithfully, and I don't know if he was paid. Perhaps he was paid. It would be like pennies these days, but he really had a heart full of offering services, medical services. I remember him tall and slim, pink-cheeked and so on, and that was Dr. Horder. He had a bit of a diminished hearing, but he certainly served the people of the Cayman Islands. And there are some folks in West Bay who took it upon themselves to actually get a headstone to place on the grave where he has laid now for quite some time. He passed away. He came in the 1930s and passed away in 1960. And that is certainly something that is of a historic nature. And it's good to know that people remembered him and took the steps to actually get a headstone for him. And, that is something, again, which we can think about and so on. Everyone becomes the best person in the world once they have passed away. But I believe here in Cayman, we need to get more to a point where if we think someone is doing a good job, particularly our own people, tell them while they are alive. We have some doctors that here in Cayman that have served us for a very long time. One comes to mind, Dr. Tomlinson, Dr. Steve Tomlinson comes to mind. He was one of the early doctors here, qualified doctors here in Cayman. And I know many people love him, many people trust him with their lives, as the saying goes, and literally as well. And it can't hurt for you to, anyone who's been a patient of Dr. Tomlinson's, including myself, to express appreciation. And while we're alive, we can hear it. When we go to the other side, we can't. So it's good to that word spoken in the correct time means a lot to a lot of people. And we do have those people who have served, not just in the medical field, in other fields, as civil servants, as administrators, as lawyers, and so on. And there are various acts of kindness and of extra consideration. That appreciation can be expressed at the time that this takes place. So there is opportunity, and we should take these opportunities when they arrive. Another area I see here where it seems that there's so much plastic around Cayman now, and this particular headline is saying that plastic debris is altering the lives and habitats of seabirds in Cayman Brac. And there is Plastic-Free Cayman's Cassandra McDowell's indicated that the island's brown boobies have begun using pieces of plastic and other ocean debris to build their nests. Just imagine that there is so much plastic in the ocean right around our island that the birds have begun to use that to build their nests. And there are many stories right now about the other fish and the large ocean whales, that they find them dead and so on, and there is loads of plastic in them. Why do people do it? Why do they dump the plastics like that? I suppose there are numerous reasons, and there are countries that there are mountains of plastic, and still on and on it goes. Plastic will be around for no doubt a very long time. But is it that difficult for people to think about when they have a plastic container that they could dispose of it in a proper fashion? When will we get to the point where it'll be a requirement by law that we will separate our garbage, plastic, metal, have them separated here as a matter of course? That needs to come in Cayman, because these islands are also becoming highly littered by plastic. I understand that there is a caller online, so let's take that call just before we go to the break. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gilbert.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing well too, thanks. Mr. Gilbert, I want to ask you a question first. Government vehicles, after 5 o'clock, they shouldn't be driving in the road, correct?
Say that again. I didn't quite get it.
The government cars, the government vehicle, we have big amount of government vehicles. They are spending so much gas. Those after 5 o'clock, when the government building is not working after 5 o'clock, they shouldn't be driving unless somebody have a job to do. You know, like the government says to a person, you have to do this work certain hour of the day or
right.
whatever.
Right. I think I know you're right there. The fact that some jobs require people to be mobile and have the cars to all day as such, because there can be call-outs and so on. But there are other jobs that definitely the cars or the vehicles would be parked at the department where they should be kept.
I mean, unfortunately, it shocked me the other day. I was walking in one area, I don't want to say where or which department is the car, that a person who driving a government pickup, and 7 o'clock at night he going to buy liquor from the liquor store, carrying a civilian. I know the person in the back was a civilian, is not a government employee. And it shocked me that, how in the world this could be happening in Cayman. The reason I speak about the government vehicle, and I did speak about it before, because so much waste in gas and money, leaving the government vehicle. Is it time, Mr. Gilbert, the government to take a decision that no government vehicle leave even the department unless it have a movement order or a paper from the supervisor or the head of that department to sign by him to say you are moving from A to Z or A to B. This is the time you have to be driving the vehicle, and then it have to come back and park. That will save a lot of money.
Right. Well, caller, it is. I agree with you that there is always a chance that it can be some abuse with anything, including the use of a government vehicle. There are certain jobs that allow the staff or the employees to actually have access to these vehicles because the fact that they need to move from place to place and let's say during a 24-hour time. But there can be cases of abuse, and where that happens, it's certainly not acceptable, and that is something which needs to be stopped. But, these things really do happen, but there's persons like yourself who see and speak about them, and that is good. That is good to keep it in focus and before the public in general. I have to go to a break right now, but I thank you for your call. If you might choose to call back, but I have to go to a break now, and we will be back in just a few minutes.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Research shows that domestic violence increases during the holidays. Financial pressures, family pressures, work pressures, all of these play a part. So don't let the pressures of life take over. Choose to diffuse the spousal arguments before they begin. Most people experience their greatest anger when they feel dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. Many people instinctively avoid naming their fears, and it's all too easy to mistake sadness and fear for anger. So if you feel like you're heading for an argument, or you find yourself getting angry, stop for a moment and ask yourself, am I reacting to a feeling of loss? Telling someone else what you're sad about or afraid of means that you're willing to let down your guard and be honest. And they may react by doing the same. A quote from ahealthyplace.com says this: "Remember, from every wound there is a scar, and every scar tells a story. A story that says, I have survived. Turn your wounds into wisdom."
The Stop the Slap campaign has been proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
I need a bank that is convenient for me.
What do you mean?
I need a bank that has easy-to-find locations and plenty ATMs when I need cash on the go.
Oh, well, that's easy. You need to bank with Cayman National. They have 7 customer service centers and 23 ATM locations. The newest one is at the East End Post Office, and I hear there's more to come.
Well, sounds like I need to bank with Cayman National Bank, the convenient bank, because they seem to be everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Cayman National is everywhere. Surely they are Cayman's convenient bank.
Cayman National Bank. We're here for you.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Hopscotch Entertainment presents tribute to 2 of the island's greatest bands, Memory of Justice and Humble and the Meek, featuring special guest Freddie Jackson. A alongside special guest Naomi Cohen this December 7th, 8 p.m. sharp at the Lion Center. Admission is free. Admission is totally free. Featuring special guests Rex and Impulse Band, Lammy Seymour, Edward Solomon, Regeneration Band, Molly and Brian, Gerald Rankin, Dexter Bodden, and Fire Squad. Donations are accepted. Sponsored by the Ministry of Culture, Miracle Brokers, Digicel, Radio Cayman, The Lobster Pot, JN Money Transfer, and the Cayman Islands Music Association. Freddie Jackson, live in concert, Friday, December 7th at the Lion Center.
Treat your home this year with a Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor with up to 20% off select porcelain and ceramic tiles, 15% off commercial and residential carpets, and tint specials with tiles as low as $10 per box and mosaics only $5. The Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor this Friday 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. only. Cash or credit card payments only. All sales are final. Edie's Decor, located on 64 Eastern Avenue, or you can call them at 949-6348.
But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today, where I'm sitting in for Sterling Ebanks, and we have been talking some about the various things that's making the headlines in the local daily newspaper. And one of the things that we was just speaking about was the fact that there's such a vast amount of plastic everywhere, and Cayman is no better off. It seems that they're the booby birds in Little Cayman are actually now making their nests from plastics, and it has become a worldwide concern. The amount of plastic that there is in the ocean, it's not readily destructible, and where we can use less and use something. Materials that are biodegradable is the better course of action. So there is obviously an effort being made by someone in the Cayman Islands, Plastic Free Cayman's Cassandra McDonald. She is working towards making a difference in that particular area. And the article says that recently about 15 volunteers from the charity cleared about 800 pounds of trash from a stretch of beach that serves as a popular nesting site on the south side of the island. Imagine that, 800 pounds. That has to be a seriously large amount of plastic that has been dumped on the beach. And it wasn't put there by the birds. The birds are using it, but it wasn't put there by the birds. It was put there by people. Whether or not it was dumped from a cruise ship or a fishing boat or whatever the case may be, and it washed up on the beach, people are polluting the oceans with plastics. And another area that is usually quite controversial, and here in the Cayman Islands and elsewhere, I see that there's an article here that speaks about what has happened in Bermuda, where for the second time the Bermuda courts have made a ruling for where same-sex marriages are considered legal, and that the country's court ruled Friday that an attempt to introduce civil partnership legislation as an alternative to marriage for gay couples was not sufficient to meet rights guaranteed under the Bermuda Constitution. It was ruled that passing legislation on religious grounds was outlawed by the Constitution, which guarantees a right to freedom of conscience. And the Bermuda government has now exhausted its legal options within the territory to oppose same-sex marriage, and it has 21 days for Friday's ruling to decide whether to challenge the ruling in the Privy Council in London. So that is the story also suggests that puts pressure or impact on Cayman for the right for same-sex marriage. Well, that's interesting, and the Constitution says that in Cayman that the marriage is something between a man is a marriage between a man and a woman. It does not provide for same-sex marriage. Now, to the best of my knowledge, a court can't change the Constitution. The Constitution has to be changed in the Legislative Assembly or by a order in council from the British government. Now, that is one area that the British government has said they will stay away from because it's something which is a local decision to be made, and they will respect what we do. But, of course, there is this worldwide pressure that equality also goes to where people of the same sex can be married. So, you folks, you may have an idea on this. You can give us a call at 1-800-534-8255, and we are ready to accept your calls. And there is one call online, I understand. So, two calls now. So, we'll take one here before the news. So, please go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. McLean, being that you were a member of the Legislative Assembly before.
Yes, I was prior, yes.
You might be able to help me with the right answer.
I would try.
With all the construction you see going on in Cayman Islands right now, and with the government continuing to give away concessions, what is the amount of money at this time you think that the government would be giving away with all the construction that is going on at this time?
Caller, I really wouldn't have any idea of how much concessions has been given, but it's a question that could be posed by the legislators of the government to the government, and the government in turn could respond. But millions over time, I know, have been given away, as you say, by concessions, and there is a considerable amount of construction that's going on in these islands right now, certainly in Grand Cayman. No question about it.
I think they need to start collecting these concessions and have a trade school fund. And all the concessions collected by government will go towards this trade school fund. And that way we're able to get our trade schools that we need for our young people in the Cayman Islands. We could start with building one in Georgetown, one in Bordentown. The people from East End and West Bay are able to get there. And as the funds get bigger, we're able to build one in West Bay and East End. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that caller has spoken to something that so many of us agree with. Certainly, I, as a former legislator, I agree that we needed to have a trade school, because the largest amount, if we were to look at the number of work permits in this country, the people in the skilled or the vocational areas, the electricians, the refrigeration people, the plumbers, it's all of those areas. There are some of the largest number of work permits in those particular categories. And I've heard different stories that, if you build such a school, it's going to appear as if those people are useless and they're not treated the same as the others who are academically inclined. I have never agreed with that type of story or position, because it simply doesn't make sense. It's education, a different type of education in a different field. And for the amount that we have here, we need it. We need one, in my opinion. I think there's one other caller. Yeah, well, caller, if you would please hold. We would be back in about 2 minutes. We have to go to the news at this time, but we'll take your call as soon as we come back. You're listening to Cayman Cross Talk today. Please stay tuned.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Port Authority Director Clement Reid has been sacked. In a statement sent to Radio Cayman, a Port Authority official confirmed that on Friday, November 23rd, Mr. Reid's employment was terminated. The statement says the termination was as a result of mutual consent. However, no reason was given for the dismissal of the former director. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, a no-deal Brexit would send the pound plunging and trigger a worse recession than the financial crisis. That's what the Bank of England has warned. It said the UK economy could shrink by 8% in the immediate aftermath if there was no transition period, while house prices could fall by almost a third. The Bank of England also warned the pound could fall by a quarter. Sri Lanka's top military officer has been remanded in custody, accused of covering up Civil War-era murders. Chief of Defense Staff Ravindra Ragunaratne appeared in court after warrants for his arrest were issued. Prosecutors say he protected the main suspect, a naval intelligence officer who allegedly murdered 11 young men in the final stages of the conflict with separatist Tamil rebels in 2008 through 2009. And people of African descent are facing widespread and entrenched prejudice and exclusion across the European nation. That's what a study has suggested. Race-related violence, discriminatory police profiling, and discrimination in the search for jobs and housing were commonplace for many. England had the highest rates of race-related harassment and violence, while the UK had amongst the lowest. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's new kitchen and bath center.
Listen to the general public. Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. I understand we have two callers, so let's go straight to the phone line. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gilbert, Ms. Susan, and to all our listeners.
Good afternoon. How are you this afternoon, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Raymond?
I'm doing okay, sir. I heard you talking about the plastic from Cayman Brac, and I can attest to that. I have been one of the persons that has been inspecting and investigating the origin of the plastics, and from 10 years ago, I found out that the majority of plastics are coming from Haiti.
From Haiti?
Most of the bottles that I walk the coast and inspect the bottles, it's a product of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and I've been finding some bottles look almost brand new that would only been out at sea for
for a few days drifting at sea coming from Haiti seems to be. Anyway, I can confirm as to the magnitude of what contributes to that. About 10 years ago, I was talking with an American captain of a tugboat passing here, and I asked him if he had passed any other small craft or any other, like looking for refugees, and et cetera, et cetera. He said, no, sir. What I passed was a barge off Haiti dumping garbage into the sea.
Wow.
Yes, sir. And in Haiti, most of the people just seems to be tossed their garbage into the river, and it's taken by the currents out into the main sea ocean, and the currents and the prevailing winds from the southeast and currents bring it right down past Cayman Brac. And south coast of Cayman Brac, I have walked a half a mile of area, and I would estimate within that half mile there was about 1,000 bottles and tin cans in that 1/2 mile. Several people have been volunteering to collect garbage bags on the south coast of the island. Thank all those people who have been doing that, including some children from the school as well, and residents on the south coast of the island, and that's greatly appreciated. But the south coast of Cayman Brac along the coastline on the Iron Shore going from the Bluff Road east and all over is strewn with cans and bottles and all kinds of debris, household debris from shampoo bottles. So I have even found an artificial leg one time on the beach on the south side. That's many years ago. But we have a major problem with litter coming in, and I've been telling the tourists, I said, you see this mess we have here, that's not our locals doing that. That's coming from other islands in the Caribbean. Secondly, Haiti is number one, and secondly is Desnos and Geddes, Pepsi and Coca-Cola bottles and all that. And I found Ragaman energy drink from Trinidad as well. As far as Trinidad, I have found bottles. It's mostly plastic bottles, not mostly tin cans that we are getting, and flip-flop slippers by the hundreds on the coastline.
Yes. Well, you know, Raymond, I think that we can take a lesson from it, the fact that we realize what the problem that's occurring worldwide because of the indiscriminate dumping of plastics, be it bottles or otherwise, and the fact that it's not biodegradable, it just stays like a small forever, and there are areas of the oceans that is hundreds of square miles that's covered with plastic, you know. But that's an interesting point that you brought up there about that it is coming to us. A lot of it is coming to us, obviously because of what the ocean currents are bringing to us from Haiti. And you know, we have just about every kind of known drink or soda or whatever worldwide too. So we need to take a lesson from it and stop the dumping that we might be doing and start separating our garbage, which is good for us and a better way to manage the whole process. But thank you. There's another call which I need to take at this time, but it's good hearing from you.
Yes, sir. I have something else I will call back in a few minutes.
Okay, great.
Yes. Okay.
There is another caller. So, caller, you're on the air. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Gilbert.
Good afternoon.
It's old friend Clyde Christian.
Hi, Clyde. How are you?
I'm pretty good for an old man.
You're not that old, man.
That's up to plus in the yellow up there. What I'm calling this morning, another show, we're talking about the cost of living.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of senior citizens here. Some are married to foreign nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And you find a difficulty around here. A lot of elderly have to get a native caregiver. And unless they have their own place, cost already so high.
Mm-hmm.
Now, both the seafarers' pension and the I think about old people pension then
mm-hmm.
is about, they're going up $100 next month. We were about $900 U.S. a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, understand that in many countries, take the Philippines. A lot of Caymanians are being married to Filipinos now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that school teachers only get about $300 a U.S. a month, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you can get a good caregiver there for about $200, and same with the rent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're paying $200 for caregiver, $200 for rent, and the food again, as I say, $200, that's only $600 U.S.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like $1, you know. It's like, but you'll be able to live comfortable in your olden age, and still maintain a good lifestyle, you know, a comfortable lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, if you leave the island for more than 6 months, I think it is, that most of your seafarers and your indigent pension will stop. Now,
I wasn't aware of that, but I suppose if that is the case, that must be the government's policy. But you know, there's another side to that. I mean, if a person qualified for that, if a Caymanian qualified for a seaman's pension, the individual, qualified for that that amount that the government is capable of paying, and he qualified for it, then he qualified for it. Does it really matter where he may end up living if he met all the other criteria, and the idea was to help him? Is helping him here that much different than helping him somewhere else? Someone could argue, well, you know, the money is staying here in the island, but how much of it really stays here in the island? Because the places that sell the goods that the people need, that in turn is spent to buy goods to replace it, to come back to sell all over again. So, but that's interesting.
Because I was married to a Honduran,
mm-hmm.
and I got down there, and they found out, I won't go into all detail of that, but I was living abroad, and they stopped my seafarers and left me over there without money. I was getting the $200 a month government pension, which has now increased to $300, because I was, I was teaching customs and public works and all that. But
right,
it is the policy, and I talked to the Premier about it. The cabinet can change it. It doesn't have to go to the NDP in the House.
Yeah, well, you know, it is something obviously that has been put in place by cabinet. I don't think there's any law that says that it should be that way. So, speaking with the Premier, who is the political leader, that is one thing. But then again, there may be other legislators. You might want to speak to those who would take a different point of view on it. And what's a policy means that it was the decision taken at that time to do something in a certain way where it's not a law stating it must be. So a policy can be made today and it can be changed tomorrow. So that is just the reality of that. So maybe it's time to take a review of it and to see whether there might be other legislators who would see it differently.
Yeah, definitely. You know, they talk about helping the elderly and the seamen and all that. If you take a couple, elderly couple, and they are getting, even the senior citizens, whatever it is, we're talking about like next month, you go up to $1,800 US a month. Right? They can live very comfortably in Cuba or Honduras or Nicaragua or anywhere with that money. But around here, I mean, you're paying like $700-800 just to live one bedroom. That's Cayman dollars. You know? And I think it's kind of unfair to not only seamen, but other senior citizens that lived through the mosquito times out with the airs and all that, that now they cannot go abroad to live, because if they go abroad, they're going to stop their income. When they could be living in many of these places very comfortable and not a strain on their families. In a lot of families, they have daughters or other families that have to look out for them. And if they do have a little house, they could go abroad and rent out the house to have a little extra income.
Yeah. I see the point that you make, definitely, and I would suggest that you see if there are not other persons or legislators like yourself where that might change, because the point you make is, it really is irrefutable. There are places where, other than Cayman, that is super expensive, the cost of living could go elsewhere, and it could be better living as such for them. But I got to ask you to leave us there because I had to go to a break at this time. Thanks for your call. You're listening to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. Do stay with us. A visionary leader, an outstanding educator, and a man of standard.
Join the UCCI community as we celebrate the achievements of and bid farewell to President J.A. Roy Bodden, who is retiring after 9 years of dedicated service to the institution. Be a part of the historic event on Monday, December 3rd, 6 p.m. in the Sir Vassal Johnson Hall. Refreshments will be served.
A man of standard.
Not all insurance is created equal, but who has the time to shop around? Take the guesswork out of your insurance coverage with Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Let us match you with the best coverage to suit your needs at a price to suit your wallet. Plus, get superior customer service from dedicated claims professionals to ensure speedy claims processing. Get your insurance through Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
It's Christmas fun for all with the Flow Quad Play bundle for a year and weekly draws for Samsung soundbars. To win, sign up for any Flow service, including our new Quad Play bundle. Top up $25 or more or pay your bill on time and in full. Our Quad Play bundle is filled with the fastest broadband, HD quality Flow Evo TV, excellent mobile call quality, and home phone with up to 2,800 international minutes. With over $40,000 in prizes, that's fun for all with Flow. Visit discoverflow.ky for more. Terms and conditions apply.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
We just don't understand how you can afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu, starting at just $3.50, gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shudden Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value menu, the deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices. KFC, so good.
To facilitate late-night shoppers, the linen and electrical departments and the bathroom palace at International Lighting, Ed's Plaza, North Sunway, will open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday until December 15th and open late until 10 p.m. through December 24th. Spend $25 in-store and drop your name in the box because 3 Cayman Airways tickets to any of Carl's destinations are up for grabs. Drawing will take place on December 21st. International Lighting, Ed's Plaza, North Sunway, telephone 949-5141. You can also check them out on Fridays and Saturdays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the entrance of the Buntown Church of God Chapel for loads of discounted items. Merry Christmas from International Lighting.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. And at this point, we were expecting to have other guests here from the National 16 Days of Activism. And they did call and say that they were going to be a bit late, so I assume that they are coming. But in the meantime, listeners, you have the opportunity of calling in and sharing your opinion on whatever, and the number to call is 1-800-534-8255. I understand there is a caller online, so let's take that call at this time a caller has rejoined us. So let's take the call now. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Gilbert. Just to mention some of the maritime activities that is happening today and tomorrow.
Okay.
Right now we have a very large fishing trawler 30 miles southeast of Cayman Brack, all the way from Durban, South Africa.
Wow.
Coming on through, going to the northwest. So anyone flying on the plane this afternoon, if they look out the windows, they may see this big fishing trawler that is going northwest. Will be passing between Little Cayman and Grand Cayman this evening. It'll be off Cayman Brack, south of here at 3 p.m., and will make its way down toward the west end of Cuba. And also, one of the biggest floating hotels in the world will be passing Grand Cayman tomorrow.
A floating hotel? What do you mean, a cruise ship or what?
No, it is a floating hotel is a structure that is mounted on large pontoons and self-propelled. This one is. It is like a massive oil rig on the sea. It is 400 feet long by 147 feet wide, and it's 200 feet high. And it has accommodation for 750 workers. It's en route from Galveston, Texas, going to Brazil. It's a massive structure on sea, very tall, and it's classed as a floatel, a floating accommodation hotel for oil rig workers in Brazil or all over the world. That's how they do it in Mexico, Gulf of Mexico, where the oil rig workers, instead of traveling ashore by helicopter or by boat, they just go on to this floatel or floating hotel, and that's their living quarter. Yes, sir. Also, Sena Bulk, National Bulk, the company that bought out National Bulk, Sena Bulk, that still employed Caymanians like the late Mr. Ray Welcome and others. Their brand new tanker is passing south of Grand Cayman this evening and asking them to come in close off the southwest part of Grand Cayman en route from Brazil going to Texas. It's a 50,000-ton ship at 600 feet long. Also was something, I have several other interesting things. Right now, talking about the litter, I am holding a Haitian bottle in my hand, and it has the word Malta H. And it says extract de malt, mean malt extract. It's a Haitian Malta bottle that looks brand new that I collected yesterday. I was working on the south side, and I went to inspect near that area where all this litter is. So when you hear me say it's coming from Haiti, you can go by that because I'm the one that has picked these bottles up and read product of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. This is not hearsay. This is founded, absolute, positive information.
Okay, well, Raymond, I do appreciate you calling back. Thank you. And there was 2 bits of information there, in particular the one with the floating hotel and also the large trawler that I think is of interest, and knowing that they're passing that close to us. But I'm going to ask you to leave us there because I do have the guest that we have been waiting for, who is here with us at this time. So thanks again for your call. Have a good day. And we have a representative now from the
Family Resource Center.
Okay.
Family Resource Center.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you tell us, give us your name and tell us now just what you're representing here. I see on my notes says 16 days of activism.
Yes. So as of the 25th of November, all through the 10th of December, the Family Resource Center in partnership with the Gender Equality Cayman Islands from our Ministry of Community Affairs unit, as well as the Business and Professional Women's Club, we are working together to raise awareness around gender-based violence, right? And so any form of violence that affects women and men of course, right? If we talk about domestic violence, sexual assault, and different kinds of violence. So as of the 25th of November all the way through the 10th of December, we have organized different initiatives. And so throughout the year, FRC, we're known in the community as FRC, we deliver different campaigns that tap into different social issues in our island. And so this campaign primarily focuses on that, on raising awareness around violence towards women and girls, and then just broaden it so to also speak about violence against men, of course. So as of Sunday, what we did, I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at, there are certain areas within our district where we have a clothesline project displayed with artistic work done on T-shirts that have different colors that depict or convey messages around people's own experiences when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to any form of violence in their lives, in their community. And so that's referred to as our clothesline project, and that's in all the district clinic centers, as well as our Georgetown post office. So that's going to be on display as of the 25th of November, which is recently, all the way through to the 10th of December, in honor of 16 days. It's a great opportunity to initiate conversations. So, when people walk across them, they're like, oh, what's that? And they're really powerful messages such as, I am a survivor, my name is Survivor, or I've overcome X, Y, and Z. And obviously they're very anonymous, but it's an opportunity for people to talk about issues that oftentimes are less talked about, because of the shame associated with it, or a sense of guilt and whatnot. And so, we thought that would be a creative way to raise awareness around this campaign. Also, at the moment, we have our domestic violence intervention training program, which is happening at the National Drug Council, and it's a 3-day training. Today is day 2, which is geared towards frontline professionals. So you don't necessarily have to be in the field of human and social services. You could be a church community member, you could be a police officer, a nurse, an HR professional, anyone in the court system that interfaces or interacts with victims, perpetrators, and children of domestic violence.
And what does the FRC, the acronym, stand for again?
Family Resource Center.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are a government agency. We fall under the Department of Counseling Services, and so we've been tasked with this campaign and have been delivering it for over about 8 years already.
Yeah.
So
I've certainly heard of it and know of it, I would say, and it's you have offices and so on as well, right?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're getting a bit of a popping from the microphone. You can sit back a little.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is very sensitive. Okay. You have this is an international thing, isn't it?
It is an international campaign that's endorsed by the United Nations.
Okay.
And so we've definitely taken on the theme for this campaign is hashtag Hear Me Too. Right? And it really follows what's going on, the huge change or sense of awareness in the U.S. around, there was that campaign, hashtag Me Too, the Me Too movement, right?
Yes.
And so it's a follow-up to that, and it really much invites people to start telling their stories and experiences around any form of violence and encouraging others to hear their experiences, and validate and acknowledge these.
So this started way back in 1991 for the UN.
Exactly.
This going.
Absolutely.
And how long has it been in Cayman now?
Well, we've been as FRC running the campaign for over 8 years, but prior to that, FRC is an amalgamation of 3 other government entities, which one of them included the Women's Resource Center, and they were tasked to run this campaign. So we've continued with the campaign, knowing that it's a very notable and important theme for us to use. And with that being said, we also go into the community and we do the T-shirt painting, not only in the community but also in the prison, right? So we go into the men and the female prison, and the work that comes out is absolutely brilliant because it's really a therapeutic exercise through art. right?
And that seems real smart and wise to do, because some of the people who are in prison are there as a result of violence.
Exactly. And so the shirts have the color of shirts. We've got different colors. They signify different things. So purple would be for domestic violence. White is for any crime or murder. So they're different colors. Rape is for, red is for rape or sexual assault. And so they're different colors. And so what participants do, they choose a color that pretty much exemplifies their experience with any form of violence. And if they didn't experience it directly, whether they witnessed it in their own community, right? And so they're able to artistically display that in an anonymous way too, without necessarily writing that Johnny, was a victim of domestic violence or whatnot, but just sharing their experiences through that. It's quite therapeutic.
We need to take a break at this time, so to our listeners, do stay with us. There's more to come, and we are now discussing 16 days of activism against gender violence.
Matt Brown and Rita Estevanovich star in the Cayman Christmas Comedy Show. A gift from the CNCF to you. Yay! Christmas Comedy Show. I am excited.
Well, I don't want to see it.
Too bad. You're in it.
Me in a show?
It's the bestest, most festivus Christmas show ever. Coming to your district between December 11th to 16th. Visit Facebook/Cayman Culture for all the details. Yes, I am going. Definitely I am going.
It's more than what we do. It's who we are. We were your official bank of the quincentennial celebrations in 2003. We were your Bank of the Year 4 times. We were voted as the inaugural top employer in 2010. We were the inaugural Business of the Year awardee in 2017. Who are we? We are Cayman National, your local bank, proudly serving you for over 40 years. It's because of you that our journey continues.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
The CMEA, in association with Marmee, are proud to present the Sounds of Love annual benefit concert this Saturday, December 1st, from 4 p.m. until 12 a.m. at the West Bay Heritage Park. Funds raised will benefit Stan O. Ebanks, and Miss Thelma Grant, the widow of the late Errol Skanky Grant. See live performances by Wild Nights, Dexter Bodden, Lionfish, Backbeat, Footloose, Regeneration, and more, all for only a $5 donation. The Sounds of Love benefit concert this Saturday, December 1st, at the West Bay Heritage Park.
A trip to New York City is the experience of a lifetime. Starting this December, Cayman Airways will be offering daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to New York City. That's right, Cayman Airways is going daily to New York City starting this December. Stroll through Central Park or take in the bright lights of Times Square, enjoy a Broadway show or visit museums, the Empire State Building, and so much more. Whether you're visiting for business or pleasure, you'll fall in love with New York City. And daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman aboard Cayman Airways starting this December. For details and to book, call Cayman Airways reservations at 949-2311. Contact a travel agent or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Business owners and marketing managers, did you know that during the holidays, 1 in every 3 persons in Cayman search findyellow.com? Get more visibility for your business with Yellow's special Christmas advertising package. Contact our advertising consultants at 949-7027 or visit findyellow.com to find out more. Yellow, we know Cayman.
Treat your home this year with a Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor with up to 20% off select porcelain and ceramic tiles, 15% off commercial and residential carpets, and tint specials with tiles as low as $10 per box and mosaics only $5. The Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor this Friday 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. only. Cash or credit card payments only. All sales are final. Edie's Decor, located on 64 Eastern Avenue, or you can call them at 949-6348.
Rewind to the 70s, 80s, and 90s as Breezy Productions presents Footloose. A throwback party. Friday, November 30th at 47 Ashcroft Street in the Crew Warehouse. Taking you back in time musically, Super C, DJ Preston, international DJs Smoke and DJ Marvin from Red Nassau. Admission 20 pre-sale, 25 up the gate. VIP tickets $75.
Inclusive of food and drink and top shelf liquor.
Ticket outlets, Funky Times, Express Window Tinted, and Event Pro. It's Footloose, a throwback party. Sponsored by Appleton, Hennessy, Express Window Tinted, Execution Sound, Best Dressed Chicken, Bar Metrics, Rush Energy Drink, and Kingsley Construction. Drink responsibly.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today, and in the studio we have Charmaine Miller of the Family Resource Center, and she's discussing 16 days of activism against gender violence, and it's very appropriate, particularly at this time, that people need to be reminded that it's something real. It's happening in our society like it's happening everywhere else. And at Christmas time, we're getting there, another maybe 27 days or so. It's going to be Christmas Day. And this is when the stresses come on. This is when there are arguments about money. This is when people party. There is people drinking more than they might have been doing in June or July. And all of these are factors, isn't it, Charmaine, that affects this.
Yeah, no, you definitely hit the nail right on the head, because aside from 16 days dropping on the 25th of November all the way to the 10th, we've made it a priority to train our frontline professionals around this period. I know our CIPS, their stats have reflected that spike in domestic abuse cases also around the December time, right? Even for the shelters, the Cayman Islands Crisis Shelter, when I used to work there, there was also a spike around domestic abuse cases and women accessing the shelter prior to Christmas time because of the stressors, because, everybody, there's so many demands financially and trying to meet those needs and social engagements, and whatnot. And so that adds definitely more fuel to the fire. Not to say that that's a reason why, but it's definitely a contributor. And so we do notice a spike, and that's why it's so important for us as the agency mandated to work with these social issues, to raise awareness and train our professionals to know how to respond sensitively to our population, because this is obviously a very vulnerable population that we're talking about, whether it is the victims and the perpetrators, but also our little ones, the little kids that are experiencing these issues. So training them and learning how to respond, what are some key safe messages that you should be saying when you're interacting with clients. And that's one focus of the training. Another one is pretty much understanding what the law is when it comes to domestic violence, how to make a report, how to respond to it, knowing how to categorize what is what is domestic violence, what are the different types of domestic violence, and how
you have a lot to work with these days, though, right?
Absolutely.
At one time, I can well remember that there was no law, and you'd get a situation occurring, and the police were called and so on, and then the spouse, usually the woman, would say, "Well, I don't want to press any charges."
Absolutely.
But I think the law is now that it gives the police more authority to act, isn't it?
It does, definitely, and it speaks to I think it was 2011 or 2012 that the law was revised, and it spoke to not just domestic violence as physical abuse, but also the emotional, the psychological, the financial piece, right? And domestic violence not only happening between partners, now the law has expanded to married and unmarried couples, right? So that it's covering that wider scope because we know that it can happen to anyone, right?
Yeah.
Domestic violence doesn't discriminate. And so definitely have progressed when it comes to the law. For me, what I'm finding as a professional and as a trainer is because Cayman is so diverse culturally, everyone has their own definition. Our professionals have their own definition of what domestic violence is. And so we spend a lot of time on day one educating them. While you might have your own personal idea and your own personal bias or whatnot of what it is, this is the definition, the working definition of the way in which you should be operating. Right?
You just raised a very interesting point that when you speak of the diversity, I've gotten the impression that there's some countries, some societies, and so on where it's okay for the man to be the extra macho. Yeah. Well, hey, he can slap a woman or whatever, and it's no big thing. But what your job is, I kind of gather, is that type of thing is not acceptable. Right. There's a different standard which you're advocating here that is not good for either party, either nationality or whatever to deal with that.
No, definitely. I mean, like I said, we all have our own personal opinions and whatnot, but there's a working definition and then there's a law in place for that reason, right? Inviting, of course, we do have our own cultural identity and whatnot, but we have to follow the law. And the laws will... And there's always going to be the policy in the law, but the law will only have teeth if we implement it the way it should, right? And so that's something that we definitely focus on day one of the training. We talk about what domestic violence looks like in our community. And also because going back to the fact that we're so culturally diverse, some of the issues that we're finding might be issues that before we may have never had, we still do, but then they change. The manifestation of it changes because we're working with different cultures too. Some cultures are more tolerant than others, right? And so there's that breakdown of definition and understanding. Bottom line, and I've done this exercise so many times with participants, they never mention that it's a crime. It's so funny because they can mention all the other things about what domestic violence is, and we keep getting people where at the end of at the end of that working definition, we have to write it in red. It is a crime, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah,
yes.
It is definitely
Perhaps
interesting.
That's the first time I may have heard it myself stated that way.
Right, because we don't see it that way, right? Culturally and within our society, some of us are not there yet, or there's not enough awareness in our community that actually talks about it in that way, that no, it's not okay to overpower someone physically, emotionally, or whatever, and take away that will from them, right? It's not okay to be in a relationship where there's that imbalance of power and control, right? So at the end of our working definition, we talk about it as a crime. It's a crime, and it's a crime that impacts our community. It's not just something that's their business, that's in their home, right? That's not affecting. It is affecting because my son is going to go to school with your daughter, right? And there's going to be some values and some ways of communication that your daughter's learning from what she's witnessing in that relationship, or being victim because she's a victim herself, or he, right? So we're all connected in some way, especially in our small little island. We're all connected. And so we all have a social responsibility to speak up, right? To speak up and interrupt. I think that's the key word, interrupt behaviors that, oppress others, right? Whether that is, from a parenting standpoint, a lot of what we do at the Family Resource Center is parenting work, right? And so I was just in a meeting with several partner agencies, and we're talking about how as a country we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to practicing some, not practicing punitive approaches to parenting our children, and trying to learn more skills of what we can do when we're finding ourselves frustrated, when our kids are not being as compliant, right? Because there's still that attitude of spare the rod, spoil the child, right? Yes, and so I know I'm talking about right now, I'm going into the remit of child abuse, but that is also, it falls under, a lot of the cases that we're finding when we're dealing with child abuse cases, domestic violence is a factor too, right? And so it's all very interconnected. And definitely we have a lot of responsibility as FRC to raise awareness around those issues and work with professionals.
And going back to the law, it is as we think about the domestic violence and what, let's say, a police officer might come up against.
Right.
Let's say they're called to a house, and
right.
no doubt there'll be some of that here that happens during Christmas time. If they see a person who is damaged or bruised or bleeding and so on, whether or not either party says, I don't want to press charges,
right.
the law now does give the police officers the opportunity of charging, isn't it?
Right, absolutely. And especially because you've got, some victims who will say, for the sake of the family, or we're going to work things out, that is their responsibility to still make a report so that investigation can happen, especially when children are involved. But that's something that, again, we've had to work with the different agencies that come to our training, just because while we all know what the law is, there are different procedures in place in terms of how we honor that law, and so those procedures are completely understandable, but there's still that commonality.
Okay. Well, very interesting stuff, and I hope our listeners are listening, and I'm sure they are, and they're understanding what is happening and what this show is really all about. We need to take a break. We'll be right back.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after,
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after,
visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
Motorists have been advised of roadworks as they continue until 4 this afternoon on the Chris Global Roundabout, which intersects the Esterly Tibbetts Highway and Lime Tree Bay Avenue. The inner lane of the Chris Global Roundabout will be closed, and drivers have been asked to proceed with caution as the roadwork continues. That's the closure of the inner lane of the Chris Global Roundabout until 4 this afternoon. Also, attention Cayman Brackers, don't miss the annual The Christmas Variety Show is being brought to you by the Lions Club of Cayman Brack, starting on Saturday, December 2nd, 7 p.m. at the Aston Ruddy Civic Centre. There's going to be local entertainment, food, music, dance, drama. Also a fashion extravaganza hosted by MC Cheryl T. And a chance to win prizes including a 32-inch TV, bicycle, quarry sand, and Foster's Food Fair gift cards. Tickets are only $10 for adults and high school students and $5 at the gate for primary school students, with proceeds supporting the annual Christmas Cheer Project for the elderly and children. Get your tickets for the annual variety show happening this Saturday, December 1st, from any member of the Lions Club today.
Cayman presents tribute to two of the island's greatest bands, Memory of Justice and Humble and the Meek, featuring special guest Freddie Jackson. Alongside special guest Naomi Cohen. This December 7th, 8 p.m. sharp at the Lion Center. Admission is free. Admission is totally free. Featuring special guests Rex and Impulse Band, Lammy Seymour, Edward Solomon, Regeneration Band, Molly and Brian, Gerald Rankin, Dexter Bodden, and Fire Squad. Donations are accepted. Sponsored by the Ministry of Culture, Miracle Brokers, Digicel, Radio Cayman, The Lobster Pot, JN Money Transfer, and the Cayman Islands Music Association. Freddie Jackson, live in concert, Friday, December 7th at the Lion Center.
You are my lady. Oh, this Christmas, Kirk Freeport is wishing everyone peace, love, joy.
And $40,000 in prizes. Win one of the multiple $5,000 and $1,000 cash prizes just for shopping at your favorite Kirk Freeport store. Purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. There's even a Rolex watch prize draw on January 2nd and loads of other great prizes. Peace, love, joy, and the island's biggest Christmas sweepstakes. Only from Kirk Freeport. Full details on kirkfreeport.com. Merry Christmas from Kirk Freeport.
You remember the sale at Vant Motors?
Yeah, the Your Sale, Your Choice. The one where you can get cash back or can put the savings to extend the warranty or upgrade features?
Yes, it's still going on. But now you can get $8,000 off a new Ford Ranger truck. $8,000, you know?
You for real?
Come see for yourself. While they still have so much to choose from, save big during Your Sale, Your Choice at Vant Motors. With almost every vehicle on sale, you decide whether to get your dream ride at its lowest price. Take cash back, add years to the warranty, or service plan. Choose an add-on or mix your options. Your sale, your choice, because you know what you need, and Vant Motors will help you drive it home. Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman, where I have the pleasure of having with me Charmaine Miller, and she's from the Family Resource Center. And we've been having an active discussion here as to what the Family Resource Center deals with, how it deals with it, and, of course, what she is attempting, and I'm sure her department is attempting to do, is to raise an awareness of that there is domestic violence, how people should deal with it, how it could be dealt with, the fact that there's a law which gives force to stopping it or dealing with it. It couldn't be done before. And, of course, there are certain resources that are available, aren't there, Charmaine, that you would want to the public to become aware of as well?
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely. I mean, there are various resources in our community, and I think a lot of the times what stops individuals from seeking help is sometimes they don't know where to go or whether there's anything available for them. So it's a matter of, you know what, I feel stuck, I feel alone, I don't feel supported, and they stay within that place. But in terms of resources, of course, there's what. As a Family Resource Center, we provide crisis intervention and victim advocacy on a daily basis. So as of 12:30 to 5 o'clock, we have an individual that's responsible solely to providing support and support in that being whether the services that the client needs may not necessarily be services that we offer.
You're
but
speaking
serving,
of nighttime?
No, 12:30 to 5 p.m. during daytime.
Okay.
Right? Whether the services that they offer that they need may not be offered by us as an agency, we also advocate on their behalf. So if it is that it's financial assistance that they need help with, we'll give them the information and at times even serve as an advocate to liaise between the needs assessment unit as well as ourselves, whether it is reaching out to the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, which is another resource that's important to take note of. The Cayman Islands Crisis Center is a shelter for women and their children who have been victimized by domestic violence or any other form of violence. And so that's a residential facility where women can stay there. So we definitely assist with that process, and that being assistance could look like making the call to a staff member at the crisis center, helping to ease that process, right? Because I feel like a lot of times when clients come in and they need support, they're just completely lost and overwhelmed and feeling quite vulnerable. So being a source of support for them through that is definitely something that they find quite beneficial. Counseling services, right? So that clinical intervention, as an entity, as a Family Resource Center, we have our clinicians that can be found at the counseling center. So we all fall under the Department of Counseling Services. So there's that referral process that's a very easy to make and schedule an appointment for that client to help support them and their child. And we also have a very good partnership with social services, with the Department of Community and Rehabilitation, amongst others. So we're able to really have the resources in mind to better support our clients. But definitely aside from the crisis intervention support that's offered on a daily basis, we also have programs for our families. So specifically if we're talking about domestic violence, we have a program called Healing Circle, and that is a support group for women who are currently in relationships that are abusive, have left the relationship, or are contemplating leaving the relationship. So it's a very interesting dynamic because you've got some individuals that are feeling very empowered because they have left the relationship. And so that can be a very powerful experience to those that have not as of yet and are contemplating and are seeing the red flags and are maybe seeing the impact that it has on children too. So we facilitate that session alongside one of our therapists and get the support that they need. It's a 12-week investment in themselves and in their family, and we find that, you know, once the program has started, there's high levels of commitment too. So we're very pleased with that. I would love to get to a place as an agency where we can offer that kind of support to our men, because, you know, I know I've been talking a lot about abuse, using women and speaking to women as victims, but our males are also victims of abuse.
Yeah,
right?
That's interesting.
It is.
You raised that, because I'm aware in my lifetime of a number of instances where men have been victimized. They have been gotten some beatings and so on from their female partners. That's it's astonishing, and of course it has the psychological effect that other men will say, but what kind of man are you that you make so and so beat you or whatever? But it really happens.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything open at all for that kind of counseling or support?
I mean, definitely our therapists can provide that one-on-one support to victims, male victims. But we definitely feel, generally, the way in which we develop our programs are based on the trends that we're seeing, right? So, I mean, historically, we know that there are male victims, but it's their ability to come forward, you know, from the get-go and making the report, right? There's so much shame associated to it that prohibits them from actually doing that. And it's just, you know, mental barriers and roadblocks that they have, right? Because we all know that it's not okay. It doesn't matter if you're a woman and you're a man. It's just not okay to put your hands on anyone. It's not okay to make somebody feel powerless, right? And so, the support is there on a one-to-one basis. If there was a need where, you know, we could have actually a group of men that, you know, we've screened and would definitely benefit from that group support, absolutely. We're more than happy to provide that support. But generally, our programs are geared, are developed based on the trends that we're seeing. And so I think as a society, we're definitely evolving and we're growing. And now we're talking about domestic violence, where maybe 20 years from you know, back, we weren't talking about it, right? It was behind closed doors. Nobody wanted to air their dirty laundry.
Absolutely.
Right? And now we are definitely progressing. So, you know, we've recently celebrated International Men's Day at the theater. We developed this film. It's a documentary that speaks to the issues men face, right? And so we had prominent men in our community that were very vulnerable and talked about the stereotypes around men and the pressures that they face as men to be more masculine, to be womanized, all these different negative stereotypes, right, that put men in a box, and mental health.
You have obviously progressed way beyond what I would imagine to get that
to get local men in our community to talk about that. And we had oversubscribed cinema with majority men watching this, right? And so it was really powerful for them to, they said exactly what I'm thinking. So now the step 2 is, okay, so what are we going to do about it? We know all of this. We're raised awareness about it. How are we going to address these issues, and starting in our schools to start talking to our young men?
Well, it has been very interesting listening to you, Charmaine, and we're getting to that point of 2 o'clock where we must go to the news. Any final points that you want to make or leave with our listening audience?
Well, yeah, if you, anyone who's listening, if you're encountering any issues or any form of violence, feel free to call 949-0006 or come to our office, the Family Resource Center, located on at the Compass Center on North Sound Road. I'll say the number again, 949-0006. We are more than happy to support, and throughout 16 days, we're selling shirts that say hashtag Hear Me Too on the back. So if anyone's interested in supporting the campaign, the shirts are $20, and feel free to give us a call.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here.
And
to our listeners, we've had with us here Charmaine Miller from the Family Resource Center, and lots of information. Certainly learning something myself. I didn't realize there were so many mergers and so much the available resources, but obviously there is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break now and go to our 2 o'clock news. Do stay tuned. We will be back, and we'll be hearing from President Roy Bodden from UCCI. He has some interesting stuff that he wants to do before he really exits the job that he has been doing now for 9 years. So stay tuned.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Today, the RCIPS is announcing the launch of the mobile application of its organizational website, the RCIPS mobile app, which is now available on the Google Play and Apple App Stores for the Android and iPhone. The app is free and features alerts and emergency updates, police press releases, community beat officer mobile numbers, and contacts and addresses for all RCIPS locations in a quick and easily accessible format from any mobile phone. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines in news elsewhere. A doctor in the Western Indian state of Gujarat has been arrested for performing a cesarean on a pregnant woman while drunk. The baby was declared dead soon after the operation, police say, while the woman died shortly after. A breathalyzer test has confirmed that the doctor was drunk. Indonesian investigators have said the Lion airplane that crashed last month, killing 189 people, was not airworthy and should have been grounded. The Boeing 737 MAX plane crashed into the Java Sea shortly after departing from Jakarta on October 29th. And the Netherlands' state-run rail company NS has agreed to set up a commission to compensate Holocaust survivors and their relatives for transporting Jews to a Nazi transit camp. Some 107,000 Jews were taken to Westerbork and deported, mainly to death camps at Auschwitz and Sobibor. Only 5,000 survived. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
To the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. And I have the pleasure at this time having the president of the University College of the Cayman Islands and my good friend and colleague when we were legislators here in Cayman, Mr. Roy Bodden. And with him, he has a lady who is really someone who has a message of things that can be done and who has been working with this. So, Roy, I'm going to ask you to introduce this person, and we will take it from there. Welcome to you both here on Talk Today.
And thank you, Gilbert. It is my pleasure to introduce this afternoon a lady who is regarded as an expert in the field. She is a journalist and writes for the respected publication of the Chronicle of Higher Education. Her name is Golda Blumenstick, and we at the University College invited her down to the to give the foundation for the soft launch of our PLA program. And she's going to be leading off tomorrow evening with a lecture on the adult learner in the workplace, Miss Golda Blumenstein.
Thanks very much for having me here.
It's a pleasure being able to host you here on Talk Today. And tell us first what PLA stands for.
Okay, let me try to give you a brief synopsis. PLA is the acronym for Prior Learning Assessment, and it is the mechanism by which we assess college level knowledge and we award credits for such knowledge, predominantly for the adult learner, persons who have been in the workplace for some years. So we give them these credits towards a degree. For example, people who have been working in office management, in accounts, and so on. So we will assess their knowledge level and their experience and weigh that against what would be required for the awarding of a degree.
So in effect, what we're looking at then are persons who have the experience, who have been working in jobs but do not necessarily hold a degree, and you would do the assessment as to what that experience and time of working there would represent.
Exactly.
And then you take them, well, I guess they would have to do a course and so on to reach that degree level.
Well, this would be actually, in many cases, instead of actually taking a course or instead of taking the full course, people who've been working in human resources, people who've been working in accounting, often can qualify for. They've often earned, they've had the same knowledge as people who've taken classes in these areas, and sometimes, in many cases, institutions in the States are beginning to offer a lot more credits for people in programs like organizational leadership or accounting or some of these other areas. People, you develop an exam that assesses them, and that way, for working learners, if you want to especially encourage working learners to come back to college, it helps if you can sort of help them get a head start on the program.
And would this be, or do you see it or know it to be, that even though that, as we say, I'm sure, Roy, you know that, I said, well, you need that piece of paper. That is the thing that says you have reached this level when you can show that. Is that something that you find helps the adult person in the workplace in terms of making more money or better recognition or whatever?
I mean, it depends on what the piece of paper is and what the environment is, but I think generally the purpose of PLA, of prior learning assessment, is to help people get a head start on some of these credentials. Maybe it gets them half the credits towards a certificate which is recognized, or maybe even towards, gets them a year's worth of credit towards a degree. And so it's a way to recognize what these adults, particularly, it's generally used for adults. It doesn't have to be just for adults, but it's generally assumed that adults are these people who have actually had the opportunity to acquire a lot of this knowledge. It's a way to get people sort of started in the program. I think just having, usually, I mean, unless you're a particular field like in IT or something like that, just having the knowledge doesn't always satisfy people. They want to sort of know you have the credential that goes with it. It implies some other strengths as well. So, but it's definitely the way to get people on the start.
Well, here in Cayman, we have a situation where we are more and more hearing from employers or would-be employers that, look, we want somebody who's qualified and so on. Now, of course, we know too that you can have someone with a degree who don't necessarily have the experience in the job. But the good thing about it, as I'm understanding from you, is that you can have people who have that experience and you can take them to where they can factually say, I do have that degree or I'm qualified.
Exactly. It's when these assessments are done correctly, it's actually more of an assurance in many cases to employers than maybe a degree is, because in this case, the student will have had. But at the end of the day, it's not a replacement necessarily for school. It's generally a replacement for a portion of the schooling, not for the entire schooling. I mean, you could probably place out of. I would hope to think that not everybody who's working necessarily has all the skills and expertise and intellectual breadth that you would get from a university program. But they might be, like, as I say, maybe a quarter or a half of the way through just by this assessment program.
In your experience, Goldie, can I ask you, what do you find is the important issues with adult learners are having to grapple with?
The most obvious one is sort of, it sounds simple, but it's really just a question of timing and scheduling. Too many, at least in the States, a lot of programs are not organized around the schedules of an adult student who has kids and a job and a spouse and maybe even community commitments. And it's very hard to in a traditional American college that doesn't serve a lot of adults. They offer their classes Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 6 or 9 to 5, and very hard to adjust that schedule for that. That's sort of the biggest and the most obvious one. A lot of times the courses are organized over 16-week semesters or longer semesters, and a lot of the experts in adult learning these days are suggesting shorter, more condensed semesters, maybe in the 8-week schedule. It's easier for an adult to do more intensive work over around a shorter period of time because they can sort of, they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then, frankly, there are other really bigger issues about costs and expense. Yes. And, if you have to give up time at your work to go to school, that's time is money. And in many cases, people really can't afford it. And we have a lot of colleges in the States right now that are starting to serve adult students and are realizing they have to set up food banks and things like that because some of these students are coming to school hungry and don't have food and can't afford, especially if they're not working as much. They rely on the food kitchen and the food pantry of the college to help them get through. So it's a very big challenge serving these adults. But it's also a very big necessity. Otherwise, you have the society of too many haves and have-nots, and then you leave a lot of people behind.
Yeah, and you raised a very interesting point. The employer, let's say, letting someone off to actually go to study or to do these courses, but how do you get the why do you think that these persons should realize or should allow this to happen? How do you approach it to get a point across to them?
To the employer.
Yeah, to the employer.
It's a little bit of enlightened self-interest, I think, on the part of the employer. I think employers are increasingly, and we're seeing in the States, a lot of very big employers, companies like McDonald's and FedEx and Starbucks, some of the bigger names, realizing that if they actually want a good workforce, it's useful for them to pay for educating their workforce. And a lot more of those companies are starting to provide tuition benefits than they used to before, which is striking to me. It's still it's still not 100% common. In fact, over the last few years, we actually saw a decline in this percentage of companies offering these kinds of benefits. But I think more of the enlightened companies are starting to recognize it as a value to them. And so it's really more of an educational thing. I think one thing that's driving it, particularly back home, is we have a kind of a tight economy right now. People are having a hard time finding people to fill the jobs. Yeah. And so it helps these companies both get the kind of skilled workers they want and also help sort of build some loyalty among workers. People can see it as a retention strategy. So it's really a question. You have to educate young people, adults, about the values of going to college, and you also have to educate your employer community about the value that they'll get. And it's not as direct. It might be in more cases indirect. So that's probably a little harder sell, but certainly an important one.
Well, I think you would agree, Roy, having been around it now for a very long time, that the message is getting across to adults here in Cayman that, look, it makes sense to go to night school or take up this course, or as the case may be. So it is something that at least we seem to have started here.
You're absolutely right, because in the case of UCCI, for example, our enrollment is 1,200. And really and truly, we have an equal number of evening students as we have day students, with the day students being traditional young people out of high school. In the evening time, we have 600 people coming from work at 4:30 in the afternoon and taking classes until 9 o'clock. So we hope and expect that with the PLA, those numbers will increase. Even those 600 evening students will increase, because we will try to arrange the classes so that the adults can have even more flexible time available to them, and certainly increase the number of programs that we offer that they will be attracted to.
Okay, well, we have to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a few minutes. We have with us in the studio President of UCCI, Mr. Roy Bodden, and also Goldie Blumenstick. I got it right, did I?
You got it right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You're listening to Talk Today. Do stay tuned. We'll be back in just about 2 or 3 minutes.
Cayman National would like to invite you to their 16th annual Home for the Christmas event, Tuesday, December 4th at 6 p.m. at their Elgin Avenue location. Celebrate the meaning of Christmas and ring in the holiday season with charity donations and festive performances by UCCI Pandemics, the Cayman Arts Festival, and Dream Chasers Cayman. Light refreshments will be served. Join Cayman National as they bring the community together this December 4th at 6 p.m. for the Home for the Christmas event.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
Treat your home this year with a Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor with up to 20% off select porcelain and ceramic tiles, 15% off commercial and residential carpets, and tint specials with tiles as low as $10 per box and mosaics only $5. The Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor this Friday 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. only. Cash or credit card payments only. All sales are final. Edie's Decor, located on 64 Eastern Avenue, or you can call them at 949-6348.
I don't have time to understand this whole social media thing. And I definitely don't have the in-house people to manage my social media advertising.
Relax. Yellow Media Group can help.
But I don't even know how to run ads on social media.
It's all right. Yellow Media Group delivers real results for social media advertising. Let our Facebook certified experts and over 50 years of advertising experience do the work for you.
That sounds wonderful. I'm too busy running my business.
Exactly. Let Yellow Media Group be your social media team. We'll create a custom plan specifically for your business so that you can focus on your business.
Perfect. How do I start?
Call 949-7027 or go to www.yellowmediagroup.com/Cayman Social. Yellow, we know social.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Is this thing working? Give me some sound over here.
Every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show for your radio, featuring Will Sinatra.
Now. Sound is everything.
Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, reggae, and calypso, and an entertainment trivia section. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of the Cayman Islands Football Association. CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
The CMEA, in association with Marmee, are
proud to present the Sounds of Love annual benefit concert this Saturday, December 1st, from 4 p.m. until 12 a.m. at the West Bay Heritage Park. Funds raised will benefit Stanley Stan O. Ebanks and Miss Thelma Grant, the widow of the late Errol Skanky Grant. See live performances by Wild Nights, Dexter Bodden, Lionfish, Backbeat, Footloose, Regeneration, and more, all for only a $5 donation. The Sounds of Love benefit concert this Saturday, December 1st, at the West Bay Heritage Park.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman, where we're having a discussion with the president of the UCCI, University College of the Cayman Islands, President Roy Bodden, and a journalist, Miss Goldie Blumenstick, who has done some work on the adult student in education. Maybe Goldie can tell us a little what you did in that particular survey there or study that you did.
Sure. Last year I spent about 3 or 4 months full-time trying to sort of understand the landscape for the adult student, particularly in the United States. The numbers are quite big in the United States. This might feel a little overwhelming here. There's something like 80 million adults in the United States who have never gotten any kind of a college degree, and another 15 million of them have gotten an associate's degree but didn't maybe complete to the bachelor's degree. And 36 million of that group started college at some point and never got a degree. So we have, in the States in particular, this very big population of adults who don't have a college degree or don't have the terminal degree in a time where people are projecting the jobs in the States are going to increasingly require a degree like this. 2/3 of the jobs people are saying are going to require a degree. So, I looked at the landscape and I said we're sort of setting ourselves up for a very difficult challenge in the country if we don't start to address this. And so I spent, those few months interviewed about 120 different people. I talked to students, I talked to college administrators, I talked to policymakers, I talked to philanthropy people. Everybody it was a very good timing because at this point in the States, a lot of obviously, serving adults is not new, and we've been doing it in the United States since the beginning of college. But a lot more energy was sort of growing around this issue, and so put together this a big report called "The Adult Student" that sort of looked at all the challenges that colleges are facing. It looked at the sort of the policy landscape out there, and it also looked a little bit at the role of the third group of this triangle that matters, sort of the network effect, the community organizations, the employers, the civic groups, and the others who really play an important role in kind of developing a culture around getting more adults to college.
And that basically was your finding, that there is a need for that.
There was definitely a need, and that there was also a lot of places. There was a lot of knowledge out there about what the right strategies were, but what I tried to do with the report that I wrote was kind of put a lot of this information all in one place so that people could pick up a single report and get a pretty good sort of here's the state of the market right now, here's the landscape, here's a few things that we need to work on, to make sure, here's how we have to think about. Unfortunately, once you start this, it opens a door that opens up a lot more challenges. You have to think about how you handle career services for students once they graduate. You have to think a lot about how you run your administration, make sure that you're having programs and operations open during the hours when the students are coming. It does start the ball rolling, and there's a lot of other ramifications for it. But frankly, there's a moral imperative behind this. As a country, I was hearing from a lot of people in the United States who were saying, we can't really afford to leave people behind. We'd actually had just had a very fractious election in the United States as well, and a lot of the discourse we were hearing from people was that there were a lot of people in the country who felt like that they were being left behind, that education wasn't for them, that they couldn't get the kind of new jobs that were happening in the economy. And so it struck me as we were, frankly, there was from what I was hearing, maybe even a threat to our democracy by the fact that we weren't having an educational system that was flexible enough to accommodate these kinds of students.
Roy, it must have been providence or whatever that you had the opportunity of actually meeting Goldie and this report that she did on this, because this is what you have been attempting to do here. And you said that there's like 50% of your student population is adults and evening classes.
But what is sad is that there will be more. But when you speak to a number of them, they say their employers are not flexible. Don't want to give them time to study. Don't want to give them up. And certainly don't want to help them with the financial aspects of it. And some even tell me their employers are so disobliging that they will say, well, if you sponsor us, we are quite prepared to return the money when we have completed the course. And that is not the case. So many of them make the sacrifices on their own volition. Now, the government is very interested in this program, and there are indications that they will provide scholarships for these persons.
And they've made certain changes with the labor law, and there's a whole bunch of mergers and whatnot there when it comes down to labor and employment now. A whole new department, in effect. So it comes at an ideal time.
I would think so. I would think so.
One of the successful strategies I've heard about in the United States was in the state of Rhode Island, where the colleges and the departments of labor, which is the local labor department, were really collaborating together on a lot of these, on developing these kinds of programs. And I think that's probably an essential ingredient particularly for a state-funded institution, public institution, because it helps to have connections through other levels of government. It's not just the education organizations, the education ministers and ministry that's worrying about this, but when it becomes an issue that can connect with the Department of Labor and some of the other offices, then suddenly you have allies in the government, and also you have sort of a broader buy-in, and things. Then you can make policies instead of being in conflict with each other. The policies can complement each other.
Yeah, and of course, we hear it quite regularly here too, that folks are feeling like they're being left behind, and we have another thing here that it seems that you reach the unlucky age of 60 that you have no more worth and so on, just get rid of you and so on, and that is something which is getting pushed back, as it should. And this type of education for persons who might fall short of the certifications that they need, that this is really seems to be timely.
Exactly. This is what we at the Universal College think. And I heard from adults in the workforce too that they're very vulnerable when we have mergers and acquisitions, because what often happens is that when one company, one organization acquire the other, what they do is they have a euphemism called downsizing. Mm-hmm. But when they downsize, who gets downsized? The adults who have been there for 15, 20, 25 years get pushed out of the door and replaced by younger graduates who work for half as much. Yeah. And of course, they have no recourse, because these adults, all they have is say, well, I've been with the company 25 years and I've been loyal. And then the person say, well, but you have no qualifications. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. A degree is not going to protect you necessarily from, a company that's
right.
trying to be, it's going to be, just looking at the bottom line. On the other hand, you do have a lot of companies here in Cayman who, international companies, and all I ever hear is from companies is how they're trying to have a diverse workforce all around the world. And that might not work for somebody who's, sort of towards the end of their career, but if somebody who an adult wants to go back to school and then become work with one of these companies that's, has operations here and then maybe in other parts of the world, suddenly people will have more qualifications for that.
Indeed. Well, we've pretty much come to the end of the time that we have. So, Mr. President, I'll give you the opportunity to tell us about what will be happening, when and where, and what can be done for persons who are interested to actually get on board with this prior learning assessment here in Cayman.
Okay, so tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, we'll be having what we call the soft launch at the Sir Vassal Johnson Hall at the University College. That we're going to lead off with keynote lecture by Goldie Blumenstick about the adult in the workforce, the adult learner in the workforce. And thereafter, we are going to have some opportunities for persons to find out more about the PLA program that UCCI is planning to launch in 2019. There will be resource persons available to answer questions. We encourage people to sign up. So far, we've had 150 persons who have indicated their attendance tomorrow evening, and we think that is more than encouraging, but we can accommodate much more than that, I can assure the persons. So then we're going to lay it out, and we're going to introduce them to what we see as the occurrences leading up to August of 2019, when the program will be formally launched and begin. So tomorrow evening at the Sir Vassal Johnson Hall at 6 o'clock, we will begin with the keynote lecture by Golda Blumenstick. And of course, there will be opportunities for questions. There will be question and answer periods, and there will be persons there, resource persons, that people can meet with in discrete circumstances. And UCCI will be offering some of its delicious refreshments, compliments of the School of Hospitality Studies. Free.
That usually gets attention.
If nothing else, free food, right?
Yeah. And of course, your email is events@ucci.education.ky.
.edu.ky.
Yeah.
And the phone number is 623-8244.
Okay, and you also have Facebook, facebook.com//official UCCI.
Yes.
Well, I really want to thank you for being here with us and to bring this message to our listeners. And I hope you have an enjoyable time here.
Thank you.
It's Golda Blumenstick, and it's something new, and it's refreshing to find somebody who is really in the know, with the know, and this is definitely something that can make a difference here with us here in Cayman. So let's hope that we get a lot of people signing up for this. The opportunity is there, so we need to make use of it.
We think so, and we are hoping that it works so well that Golda will come back and do a follow-up. Now she did the study. Now the next step will be the adult learner in the workforce, one successful experiment or one successful venture.
Yes.
And they feature the Cayman Islands and the University College.
Once again,
just a thought, Goldie.
Once again, thank you both for being here with us. We have come to the end of Talk Today here at Radio Cayman today, and we will be back here at 12:15 tomorrow, and we expect that we will have the representative from the opposition group, so do tune in at that time tomorrow. And meanwhile, enjoy the rest of your day.
Keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
There's radio news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.